You recognize that tune, and you know it's time for Relics Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting and relic hunting. You can call into the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any comments or questions you might have, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. You're listening to Relics Radio of Southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. All right, we're live again from the foothills of Southern Kentucky and also in Middle Tennessee. I am Digging with Seven, your host. I guess you call me Mutt. I'm Mutt, and
I'm Jeff, Tennessee Jeff.
So good to have you in here tonight. We've got Jordan Anderson in the chat already, Paul Forsay in the chat, and I'm sure that some others are going to be in. But we're covering the whole spectrum, not only in Kentucky and Tennessee, but we also got Maryland covered tonight. And a very special guest that I know that all you diggers will know, Aquachigger. Are you there, Bo?
I'm here.
Oh, great.
I'm still awake.
Still awake. Got Mike Clutter coming in. This is going to be a great show. You have undoubtedly one of the most successful YouTube metal detecting channels on YouTube.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm doing pretty good. I mean, I've been at it for like over 10 years or so, and just keep growing every day, it seems, and I just keep doing my thing, and people seem to like it, so I'll keep doing my thing.
Yep. You know, it's funny, when I first started doing my YouTube videos, of course, you were the ones I started watching, and I thought, man, I really like this. I think I'll start doing some videos. Then you got into water hunting, and then I thought, man, this guy's crazy. He's diving up underwater and all this, trying to find the relics. And after that, I got, well, hey, that's a good idea. So next thing you know, I was in some water. So, but yeah, you've got a great channel and some awesome relics that you've recovered out of the creeks and just on land and stuff. So you've done a real great job at it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
I'd say so. I looked today, and you've got over 917,000 subscribers. You've had over 158 million views, so I'd say you're doing pretty well. Just keep doing what you're doing. From time to time, I'm going to mention everybody that's in the chat because you are as important as anything to us because you support our channels. Got Deborah Minnick and Forrest Stinnett. Got Joel Byler in, Chris Heimsoff, Tim Henderson. We got a house full here tonight. But one question that obviously we ask every guest, what got you started into metal detecting?
You know, I started when I was just a little kid, back in the 70s. I grew up in the Shenandoah Valley in West Virginia, just outside of Harper's Ferry, which is a lot of Civil War activity there. And, I've just always been interested in exploring and digging in the dirt. I mean, I think that's really where I started. I love the feel and the smell of soil, I don't hardly ever wear gloves because I just love the feel of it in my fingers, and I love the smell of soil. And, I think it's probably where it all started, what's in the soil, and next thing I know, I'm looking for stuff. And my mother bought our family, I had a bunch of brothers and stuff, big family. And she bought us a metal detector to share. This was back in, mid-70s probably. And, I was already looking for bottles and stuff by then. But yeah, she got it for the family back then, and I picked it up and started using it and really liked it because you could find more stuff. And I've, been detecting on and off since then. Life gets in the way, of course, and it did over the years. But, yeah, I've been pretty much at it, not quite nonstop, but more or less since then.
Yeah. Oh, but when you had the flu, I mean, of course, that put a hurt on you there for a little bit.
Flu and the scratches. Yeah.
Yeah, that and what
I was in
poison
the
oak.
Army and stuff. Yeah, that was terrible, man. That was really bad.
I could tell on one video, I don't think it was your last one, maybe it was the next to last one that you did. You were out, you and another guy was hunting an old site that he had hunted, and where he'd found a lot of flat buttons and everything. And you could tell, that you wasn't 100%, that you're still, I think you even made mention, that you were trying to regain your strength. But it is that season of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I got the flu, when I went to England in the fall and came back, and I got sick, had the flu, and I got pneumonia. I went diving, sucked in a bunch of water in my lungs. Next thing I know, I had pneumonia. And I got better, and then I went out to Las Vegas with the Garrett guys, and came back with the flu again. And, that puts you down for about 3 or 4 weeks. Good 3 or 4 weeks, And when you're not out there every day in the bushes and climbing the hills, I mean, you kind of lose a lot of your strength and stamina. Mm-hmm. And but I'm slowly getting it back, and I've been pretty much hitting it every day or so now. So for the past week or two, and feeling a lot better.
Well, that's good. That's good. Let me announce our call-in number, because this gives our listeners an opportunity to talk with Aquachigger if you've got a question for him. Our number is 270-495-0315. And just real quick, I don't know if I've mentioned everybody, but Bill McDougall is in, Liz with Digging Canuck, Deborah Minnick is in, and Barb is in, and Josh is in from Beyond Sight and Sound. And I see that Jeff just put the call-in number in. And so our lines are open if you've got anything that you want to ask Aquachigger. Bo, what questions have you got for him, Jeff?
Well, see, the one question I've been thinking of, how long did it take you to get that anchor, the pontoon bridge boat anchor out? Man, I remember seeing that. I bet it did, man. I was like, how in the world did he get that out? And I remember on one of the videos you said it took you a while to get it out, and then I've always wondered how long it took.
That was a tough one, because I had to drag it across the bottom, and of course, it was over my head in many places, so I had to go down and drag it, and it was just terrible.
Oh, man.
It took me a while, but I got it.
Yeah, that's a great relic too. I mean, you don't see them very often. I mean, actually, that's the only one I've ever seen. So, but
there's a few around down in Remington, Virginia. There are some pontoon bridges down there, and the fire company actually has a couple of them look just like it. They came out of the Rappahannock. Fire company has them right in front of their station down there. So if you want to see one live, there's one down there. 2 of them that I got. So, and of course,
man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're big, heavy anchors. I mean, they're big.
Yeah, and then your famous coin spill. Do you believe you've got all them coins?
I go back there every year, and I'd say for the past 3 years or so, I have not found any. And I work different areas where I'll move all the rocks and the silt and keep checking it. But it's bedrock, so they can't really go down any further than what they are, because it's solid rock. So I feel pretty good. I got them all. There might be 1 or 2 still sneaking in there that I'm keeping. I'll look for them every year, but I just have not found any for the last couple of years there. So.
And Deborah,
sorry about it.
Deborah Minnick asked.
Go ahead, Seth.
Deborah Minnick asked a question about that, and for those of you that haven't seen it, it's Aquachigger on YouTube, and he found, if I'm not mistaken, 178 silver coins, and these are all old coins as well. But Deborah wanted to know what you thought the reason for that hoard of coins being there.
Well, reason. I could talk to you for the whole hour about why they might have gotten there. But what you might be thinking is, no, like literally, how did they get there? And I think my theory is it was in a ford on a river, and a ford is a place where people have to go through the water to cross it. It's not a bridge. So they'd go through walking or on horses or on wagons, and it wasn't very deep. It's not very deep water there, and what's clear now. This century is clear, and it probably was then. And I think that someone was crossing it during a flood and got swept off the horse or wagon, and the bag of coins fell to the bottom and just ended up in the mud there. They may recover. They could have recovered 1,000 of them. I don't know. But what was left is what I found. But even then, I suspect that they probably didn't make it because, like I said, the water is not very deep when it's not flooded. It's only like knee deep. So you would think that they could probably pretty much find everything they dropped once the river went down. I actually found over 200 of them there. But they didn't find 200 of them. So I don't really know for sure, but I suspect they got they were crossing in a flood because people had to cross. If it was flooded, they just had to take the chances or camp on the bank for a week until it went down. That was very common back in the old days because they didn't have bridges anywhere. It was one of the big dangers of traveling anywhere in the country was that you had to swim these rivers on your horses and your wagons. And in the springs or after big rains, you either camped on the bank for a month or you took your chances. So it was very common for that to happen.
And very lucky for you, too, I guess, in hindsight, looking back at it. What did you think that day as you just kept pulling coin after coin after coin out?
Well, I hate to say this, but, I'm not really a coin guy. Well, you can look. I guess you can kind of see it in the videos. Like, another coin. That's cool. But I was looking for Civil War stuff. I guess it was after I had like a handful of those, giant 8 real coins that I realized I was really on something special. And it's just a really, I don't know, just a really cool feeling, I guess, knowing that I had that history in my hand, and knowing that I had a lot of research to do to try to figure out why they were there and who might have lost them, which I still haven't been able to find out. From no news, any type of reports or anything of anyone drowning or losing vast wealth at that area. But I'm still researching it, and I probably will for the rest of my life.
I'd say so. Yeah. Chris Amsoff asked a question related to those finds as well. He wanted to know, do you document your finds, not just video, but writing those things down? And if so, do you use a certain program or a certain method?
No, I don't. I don't use it, and I don't use any type of program or computers. Got to remember, I've been doing this long before there were computers. Everything I find, I do take pictures of and document it that way. And, of course, I have it on video. But, no, I don't have, like, a giant ledger either on my computer or written of everything I have. It's all in pictures and video.
Well, probably if you had that, everybody'd be trying to hack your computer or something. So,
they're all external drives, man. I put them all, everything's on an external drive. Not that I'm paranoid, it's just that video takes up so much room on your computers, like, you have to do that.
Yeah.
I do too. Whenever I finish with one, I keep all of my original clips and everything, and I put them on a little disc and just get it all off of my computer because, I don't know, we're at like 167 videos, which is not a lot, but it is a lot too, and it does. It takes up a tremendous amount of room whenever you have all those on there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have to like get them all off my computer, all my clips and all my finished videos every couple weeks, and I have, external drives I put them on just so I can use the computer again, because, it seems like it's always at like 80% full,
One thing I like about your videos, and they're not all metal detecting, they're not all treasure hunting. Right. Some of them are just outdoor type things. But one thing that I really do like about your videos, and by the way, I got acquainted with you through a mutual friend, Chris Armstrong, Bird Dog.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
He is, and me and him have hunted some together, and his dad is great. But one thing I love about your videos, regardless of whether it's metal detecting or just an outdoors type thing, is you tell a story.
Yeah, I think that I try to tell a story, and I think that's what it makes it interesting for me too, because I'm looking for the story. I'm not necessarily looking for the bullets or the coins. I'm looking for the story when I go out there, so it can lead in any direction. So I never know what story, what little piece of treasure I'm going to come across that day, because it might not be a bag of old silver coins. It might be, a raccoon den with little raccoons looking at me, So it's I think searching for the story, searching for just the adventure, just taking those blinders off and just looking around and just following the different paths, don't focus on just using your metal detector and finding the old coins. That's what I like, and that's the videos I make, and I guess the fans I have, that's what they like. I'm happy that there are people out there that aren't just focused on, how much treasure did you find today, that are looking at it from a whole lifestyle perspective, of all the different things you can be doing when you're out in the woods or on the river or whatever in the fields. There's so much other things that you can be thinking about and looking for and doing, not just beep, beep, is that a silver coin? Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I want. And I make the videos I want to make, and that's the advice I give to everyone. Make the videos you want to make. If you just want to go out there and find silver coins, well, yeah, make those videos, because that's your passion. But that's not my passion. My passion is to enjoy the outdoors and slow down and just look around and, try to invite others into my world. That's what I do when I'm out there. And,
that's great.
It seems like I'm successful.
And you're setting up you're actually setting up context, a scene where you draw the people in and they're not focused just on a hole and the relic that came out of the hole. You got all the surroundings, and you're talking about the surroundings and things like that, And I think that the viewers like that. They like to get in the moment and feel like that they're on the adventure.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think that is one of the reasons that I have a very good fan base, and we can talk numbers, but in reality, not that many people watch my videos. Just subscribe, but the fan base I do have is a very loyal, very they're into it and they want to know more, and I get a lot of fan mail and snail mail and stuff like that, and people are just enthralled at what I'm doing and what I'm showing them they can do. So that's, it is really a subset of that huge number of subscribers that, I'm really playing to, and trying to really connect to. And I think it's a very strong bond with, that small subset of people. And that's what keeps me going, keeps me happy. And, I'll keep making videos as long as people like them. At least that small subset,
Well, that's kind of the way.
And it's funny. It's funny. I've caught myself holding my breath a couple of times. Now, I wasn't going to say that, but I don't know what it is. It's I have, no kidding.
I hear that all the time from people. I meet a lot of people out there, especially when I'm doing things, for Gary and whatnot, meet and greets, and they all tell me that, that they actually hold their breath, and their kids are running around screaming, "Hold your breath!" And it just makes my heart go pitter pat that people are involved and they're liking what I'm doing, and maybe I'm making a little bit of a difference and making life a little bit more fun for other people. So.
Yeah. That's good. And maybe you can add you can breathe now, because somebody will probably just pass out. I'll sit there and turn blue in the face. Oh, I'm not underwater. Never mind.
I should add today. I should do that occasionally. But by the time that comes around, I've already forgotten it. So.
Yep. Now, how did you get in the caving deal? I know we're talking relics here, but I mean, you have some good caving videos, and of course, this show's about you right now. And how did you get into doing the caving?
I've been into caving since I was a little kid too. Probably before I had a metal detector, actually. I'm in an area where there are a fair number of caves. I mean, there's not like massive caves like some areas, but I love the exploring. It's all about exploring and going places and learning things and crawling in these little holes in the ground. That's a great adventure. Even for me nowadays, that's a great adventure. Like I like looking for new caves that have never been in, people haven't been in yet, that you have to kind of dig out and stuff. Because, you can get in those caves. And I found one recently. You step into this cave, and you're the first person in history to ever stand there and see what you're seeing. It's like, it's like better than being on the moon almost, but you're the first person in history, and it's just such a thrill of discovery when you can do that. When you know it, I love that kind of cave. I love looking for the caves, the exploring, the adventure that goes along with it. And, like I said, since I was a little kid, I was caving. One of the first caves I, ever really went in was John Brown's cave in Harper's Ferry, He supposedly put a whole bunch of muskets in there before they did the raid on the arsenal, Didn't happen, but, that was a story, and I had to go, and that's one of the biggest caves in the area, John Brown's cave. So I'm still there, by the way.
Man, that's cool. And then if you find one that no one else has ever found, you get to name it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So are we going to see one that's called Aquachigger's Cave, or?
Well, who knows? I mean, I discovered one with a friend just recently, and I kind of made a deal with him and said, look, we had to actually take a hammer drill to it with a generator to break the rock to make it big enough so we could get in. But I've
seen the video.
Yeah. So I made a deal with this guy. I said, look, you let me go in first. I'm the first person in history to ever see this cave. It's like being on Mars, and you can name it. He's like, okay.
Well, hey, that's a good trade out.
Yeah, and he got to name it, and he's happy with that, and I'm the first person, every time I think about that, it just gives me goosebumps, But, yeah, I'm still looking for caves, and I'll find more, and if I find one, if I'm by myself, I'll name it. If I'm with somebody, I'll try to make the same deal again. It's a good deal, man. When you're the first person ever in the history of, the world to see something, because you can't do that anywhere. Yeah. You can't go to the Amazon and do that because someone's probably already been there.
Yeah.
So it's just and again, that's part of the adventure, the lifestyle, the being outdoors, the discovery, the looking for things. And not necessarily using the metal detector, but it's the same thing. It really is. It's all part of this big blanket of joy that we get in life when we're outside doing our thing. But yeah, that's wonderful, just wonderful. And I do a lot of that different kind of stuff. So and I like to share it with people because people seem to like it too. So
yeah,
more caves.
And a few people have said.
In fact, tomorrow's a big cave day. I mean, there's a big cave that opened up. Back 30 years ago, the guy said that it went down, and they had to fill it in because a cow fell in it and stuff, and it's opened again. So I'm going to be dropping cameras down there tomorrow. It's like 50 feet straight down.
Man.
So. That's kind of exciting.
Most of the caves in our area, the entrances are horizontal. They're not straight down. You go back in them, and I know whenever I was younger, we used to go into some of those, and it was a good place to dig for Native American relics, and we'd find several of those things. A lot of people in the chat are saying that they're afraid of caves because they're afraid of bats or a bear or some kind of critter, come and get you. Have you ever had any experiences like that?
No. I mean, look, humans are big, scary creatures. No one really, unless you're a bear, or a shark or something. I mean, those little guys don't want to mess with you. I mean, as long as you can stand your ground and not be terrified, I mean, we're big, So I've never really had any problem with, I've had animals come at me. I had to kick and stuff like that. But as long as you keep your cool and don't panic, they're just little creatures, Just swat them away and they'll go off and do their own thing, hurt their feelings, and they'll crawl away.
And we are big people. Some of us bigger than others too.
Yeah, you got to think about it. We're scary to those things. I mean, they were apex predator, except like with brown bears, maybe not, but you know what I mean. It's so you just can't go into it being scared of everything, because once you start being scared, whether it's an animal or you're in the river swimming, you get scared, you panic, you die. Panic kills you. That's what kills you.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to control your panic. And if the possum hissing at you, just learn how to control your panic. It's a possum. He weighs 3 pounds. You just have to control it. That's all. And it just makes it a lot easier. And you don't drown. When you're in the river swimming or metal detecting and you step in a hole. So that's a big thing that I probably should talk more about that in my videos, and I have. That panic factor is what will get you into trouble every time.
Especially in the water.
I don't want, especially in the water.
Yeah.
And I had a bad experience a few years ago with that, and I started panicking, and I would have drowned if I would have not kept my cool. And I was able to keep my cool, and I made it, and I went and I learned how to swim. Because I couldn't swim.
Man.
You know what I mean? I was crossing the river. I didn't know how to swim. I figured I could just make it. And so I taught myself how to swim that summer. And now, I'm not a strong swimmer, but, I can stay afloat. And, strong enough that I could do the diving and stuff, pass all that. But if I had panicked at that time, I would be dead today. I had a metal detector on me. I'm a digging bag full of stuff. And, I started panicking, and I could see that I was going to drown. And I just said, don't panic. Stop. Just stop it. Don't panic. And, the calmness came over me, and I was able to stay afloat long enough to get to shore. And from that day on, I've learned that you can't panic. Don't panic when you're in the water. Don't panic when there's some little creature hissing at you. Just stand your ground and, just take it as it comes. Don't fight it.
Yep.
We might have got off track a little bit, but that's part of everything we have to deal with when we're out metal detecting. Whether it's, like I said, it's in the water, or you get some fox coming after you, whatever. I mean, or storms. I go digging with people when we're in the kayaks and the storm's off in the distance and they start panicking, and they're going to kill themselves trying to get back to the vehicle. I'm like, stop, just stop. You might get wet. That's okay. But you're going to kill yourself trying to make it to the truck before the rain starts. I mean, why? But we're taught not to get wet. We're taught to be afraid of storms. We're taught to be afraid of this and but we need to become one with nature. That sounds kind of corny, but
no, you're right. You're exactly right.
Yeah. You don't fight it. You can't fight nature.
And I think that comes out in your videos too. Be it metal detecting or whether you're looking at plants or animals or whatever, you're introducing people to an environment that they're not normally in. And I think that that's good.
Right.
We all have our favorite videos that we have done. Is there one special one that you did, a certain subject matter or something that is really your favorite?
I think probably one of my favorite videos is one I did last summer when I went to the Apache Cave out in Arizona. And it was just exploring video in the desert of Arizona. And, that's something I had been wanting to do for a decade, to go to that place and find it. But I was never able to find it in the old days. But with the internet now, I was able to figure it out. And I did, a couple videos of that. And that's probably my favorites because, it was just a lot of history there, and a lot of bad things, a lot of bad juju, and but it was just a wonderful trip. It's a beautiful trip by myself on the desert, and so that was probably my favorite, I think. Not my most popular, but for me, it was my favorite.
No, I'd say your most popular is the hoard of silver coins that you found, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems to be. That's what people know me. That's how people know me, is through that video, generally speaking. When I meet someone, that's what they say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not my video with the most views, probably by far. But that's the one that they say, hooked them or whatever, which I'm just glad I had my camera with me that day and turned it on. That was before I was doing a lot of videos, I didn't carry my camera every day. It's like, I just borrowed it, so. But yeah, that's probably the one that most people know me for.
Also,
I seen the video where you went out in Arizona. I mean, that was a great video. I liked it. I mean, of course, it took you a long ways to hike up to the. Is it a cave that goes back in there, or is it just a big overhang?
It's more of an overhang. I mean, they call them caves, but it's a big overhang where that would stay dry year round. And you get out of the weather, but it's just a big, more like a rock shelter, and that's pretty much what they have in that area. Those big rock shelters.
Bill McDougall.
What was that?
Asked a question.
Go ahead.
Bill McDougall asked a question in the chat and wanted to know: had you ever done any water hunting in Kentucky, and if you had you done any good?
I can't think of any place in Kentucky that I've been. I've been to Kentucky and looked at the water, but I don't know if I've actually ever been in the water in Kentucky. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can't say that I have, but I might have. I don't know.
Talk a little bit about
the water there.
Yeah, we've got a lot of water here, and we've got a lot of history here as well. Talk a little bit about the trip or trips that you've made to England metal detecting with various people there.
Well, I've gone over to England quite a bit over the past maybe 10 years or so. I've done several of the different tours, and that's the easiest way to go if you want to go to England and actually do some metal detecting, is to join a tour. Because those, the people that run them will rent out these good places. Basically, they run a farm. They give the farm, just like they do here for the relic hunts that they do. They'll rent a farm for a season or whatever, and again, they bring groups of people there. And so you get really good sites if you go on a tour. Good farms to go on, and so I would highly recommend that you do that if you go over there to detect. Now, some people would just wing it. They'll go over there and rent a little camper and go. I have friends that do that, but it's a lot harder to get permission. But yeah, I've probably gone over there 15, 20 times over the years. Found tons of Roman stuff in England. There's a lot of Roman relics and Celtic relics, and I found lots of silver coins and quite a few gold coins over there. Celtic gold coins from like 50 BC. So just so much history over there. That thousands of years of using metal that's in the ground. So England's a great trip. I mean, I recommend everyone to give that a shot at some point. It spoils you because you come back and you don't want to go digging for a month. Because you're over there digging that old thing, because you never know. You might be digging a Roman gold coin or a Celtic gold coin, and you see those coming out of the ground.
How does that work? You find it and you have to leave it with the archaeologist, and if they decide they want it,
the way that
keep
works
it, or how does?
Well, the way that works is there's kind of two separate laws that you're dealing with there. There's one law, the antiquities law, that's a 200-year time frame. But if you want to take something out of the country, like back to the U.S., it's a 50-year time frame. So if you find something 50 years old and you want to bring it back to the U.S., you have to run it through. It's a government program. I can't remember what they call it now, but it's a government program. They keep it. They catalog everything, and your tour operator will just mail it back to you with an export license.
Okay.
And that's stuff from World War II you got to do that with. But like the old stuff, what they do is the archaeologists, the government archaeologists, they look at it, they'll write up reports on everything. So it's really cool when it's done right. I mean, every piece that I have, every gold coin or silver coin or button, it'll have a report that I am the finder, where it was found, what it is, how old it is, pictures of it. So I get this document for every relic that I have that's over 200 years old from England. So it's worth the wait. You know, it could take a couple months to get it back, but you pretty much get everything back. Now, if a museum over there wants to keep something, or if you find something that's just so fabulous that it's a piece of English history they just don't want to leave the country, the government has the option of buying it from you. And what they do is they get, I think, 3 to 5 quotes or something on the value of any item that you might have, and you get half of the money, and the landowner gets the other half. That's only if it's something they want to keep.
That's a pretty good deal, doing it like that.
For the most, I've never had anything that, well, I've donated a few things, but I've never found anything that, you know, they said, you can't leave the country. I have friends that have had that happen too. But, you know, I've had museums, like smaller museums, say, we would like to have this for a display. You know, we'll give you $20 for it, or $50 for it, or whatever. Would you consider it? And I'll say, just keep it. Send me a certificate, you know. So I get nice certificates from, like, the British Museum, thanking you for the donation of such and such an artifact. So I've done that on occasion. But for the most part, you get everything back. They don't care that, you know, they don't care about Roman coins and stuff unless it's something, you know, just unique.
Chris Hamsoff said that Relic Recoverist said it would be 2 to 3 months before she would get her UK finds back after she turned them in. So I guess that's kind of standard. Hey guys, we're coming up on a hard break, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes. If your passion is metal detecting, then you know how much your success is based on the equipment you use. Let my buddy Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, help you with that. Tim is an authorized dealer of Garrett, XP Deus, Tesoro, and macro detectors and supplies. He also carries a variety of aftermarket coils. Murray Branch Outdoors is not only competitive in their prices, but the service after the sale is second to none. You know, we've all experienced those situations where we purchase a new detector and then we get out in the field and we have questions about settings or operation of that particular detector. Well, I tell you what, with your purchase from Murray Branch Outdoors, you're also going to get Tim's personal cell phone number. That's right, his own cell phone number, and you're just a quick phone call away from getting answers to those questions. Now try that with some chain store purchase of a detector. Murray Branch Outdoors also deals in used detectors, and he'll give you top dollar for your trade-in whenever you decide to upgrade. So give Tim of Murray Branch Outdoors a call at 615-948-4611 and tell him Relics Radio said hey. And I may have cut you off there a while ago, Bo. If I did, I'm sorry.
No.
But I had said that Relic Recoverist said it'd be 2 or 3 months before she got her finds in, or that's what Chris Hamsoff said. And were you going to elaborate on that any?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can. It depends a lot on the archaeologist and how busy they are. I mean, I've been on tours when I've been in the relics in like 4 weeks, and I've been on tours where it's taken 6 months because the government archaeologists have to look at this stuff, and it just depends on how busy their office is. So it can vary.
Well, you said that depends on how old it is and how spectacular a find it is and everything. Hey, guys, the lines are open. If you want to call in and ask Aquachigger a question, our number is 270-495-0315. And Tennessee Jeff has put the number in again. If you've got a question for Bo, we'll give it a shot here. This is your opportunity to talk to him. Out of everything that, and you've found so many things, but could you name your best single find?
No. Oh, yeah. The way you said it, I can. My wife.
Okay.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Usually people say, what's your best relic? And then I can't say my wife because, well, you know.
Yeah. You're going to get in trouble there.
I'm sure the wife. No, I don't have any single thing that I covet more than others. But one of my favorite things to find are ID discs from the Civil War. You know, the disc with the badges with the soldier's name on it, where they'll often have their hometown and the battles they've been in and things like that. That's probably my favorite class of things to find. And out of that class, I do have one that, my first one, which is probably my favorite. I mean, I guess if I could only keep one thing in my collection, it'd probably be that ID disc, my first one I found. It's not the most valuable thing I have, but it's probably the one thing I would keep. And,
I think that we're all asked that question if we're a guest on somebody's podcast or YouTube Live or Facebook Live. And I know that mine is a relic that was personal. I can tie it to an individual. Yours is a relic that you can tie to an individual. Not the most valuable thing that we found, but it is the personality or the personal touch of that relic that makes it special to us. And I know that Jeff has got some of those like that too, Yeah,
like the gold ring I just found. And then
Well, I've cut everybody off. I'm sorry for that. We got a caller in. Let me call you back, okay?
All right.
I mean, or a name or anything like that. I mean, it is a great find.
Are you still on here, Bo?
But
yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I was.
I'll just be quiet until I get a question.
Well, we had a call in, and I clicked the wrong thing and put y'all on hold for just a minute. I'm still learning. I'm still just a redneck with a metal detector,
We all are, man. We're all still learning. Yeah. I mean, if the day you say I'm an expert and I'm done learning, I mean, those people are morons.
Something's wrong with them.
That's right.
It is. I mean, when someone says they're an expert, you can just turn your head and walk away because they're not. Because you can never know everything. And the day you quit trying to learn more is, just hanging up. You're done.
Yeah.
I mean, your career's over.
Well, I cut the caller off, so why don't you call back in, and I'll hit the right button this time. I'll add you to the call instead of answering the call, or add you to the group. There we go. Now we got one coming in. Let me add it to the group, and we'll see who we've got. Now, see how easy that is whenever you do it right? Who we got on the line?
Hey, this is Dave Stigger. How you doing, Seven?
I'm doing great. You got a question for Aquachigger?
Yes, sir, I do. I think I have the $1 million question.
Uh-oh.
What was in the box?
Uh-oh.
Oh, the box. What's in the box?
Yes, what was in the box?
I forgot all about that. I'm like, I was out in the field metal detecting later that day, and I forgot the box. It was actually some. It was a home remedy type of what I'm trying to think of medicine for my poison ivy problem.
Oh, okay.
That was what was in there. Yeah. So I actually did use it on some poison ivy. So, but that's what was in the box.
Did it work?
Yeah. I actually had some poison ivy on my chest that I got afterwards, and it seemed to work okay. Yeah. Good itching.
Good. That's awesome. Thank you, sir. I appreciate what you do, and I just want to call in and just hound you about that one. So thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I really do.
Hey, thanks for the call.
Thanks, Evan.
Sorry that I cut
thank
you
you
off.
Evan.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
History Seekers is in. Heath, I guess, is the one that's in on that. Ohio Relic Hunters in. There's probably some come in that I forgot, but phone lines are still open. If you've got a question for Bo, the number is 270-495-0315, and I promise I'll add you to the group and not cut everybody else off this time.
Bo, I had a question. What, in between Civil War, Revolutionary War, War of 18, I mean, do you really like hunting Revolutionary War and relics? Which one do you prefer more, Civil War or War of 1812, Revolutionary?
Well, to be honest, where I live, it's mostly just Civil War. There's very little activity as far as 1812 and the Rev War. I mean, there's some stuff here, but it's mostly just, colonial, the older homes where the soldiers came back to. So I'm pretty much stuck in the Civil War stuff here. But I really like to find colonial stuff. I like finding old colonial home sites and searching them. That's probably more so than Civil War stuff now. Probably, or at least it's right on this, right at that level. In fact, I was out just a couple of days, maybe yesterday, the day before, with relic recoverers, Jocelyn, Elizabeth, and we found a brand new colonial home site, and we got large scents and a bunch of large scents and flat buttons, and that was just so much fun, because you never know what you're going to find at those sites. And yeah, I mean, it's even par with Civil War easy. In that time, it's actually I would prefer to hunt colonial.
We got another.
Yeah, that's 7 in our 7 and I. We prefer colonial sites.
Well, it's kind
we got another caller, 7.
Yeah, we got another caller. Who we got on the line?
This is Mike Clutter, Missouri Mike.
Hey, Missouri Mike.
Hey,
what's going on, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. Getting a lot of rain here in Missouri right now, so the water in the creeks are up. I got a couple questions for Bo.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Kind of wondering what kind of boat is that you have? I know it's got an internal motor on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's called a Mokai. That's the company that makes it. It's Mokai, I believe, which is kind of a fancy little name for motorized kayak. And they're made up in up in New York State. And it's basically a kayak type boat with a motor. The older ones had Honda motors. The newer ones have I want to say Subaru motors, but little 7.5 horsepower motors, and it drives a little jet drive. So you don't have to worry about the prop or anything, and you go bounce over rocks and stuff like that, no problem at all. But yeah, so it's got a little motor in it. It's really easy to pick up in and out. But it's called a Mokai. Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're a lot of fun, and they'll get you places that no other boat will. So it's
how long have you had that?
I picked up a couple used ones about 2 years ago or so. I actually drove down to Florida to get them, and so I've had them, I think, going on 2 years, maybe 3, I don't know. But yeah, they're a lot of fun, but more importantly for me, I can get to places that, I can't get to with the average boat. And, kayaking, of course, you're very limited. You can only go so far in a kayak in a day. With this thing, you can zip out, 20 miles out, 20 miles back, no problem at all. So yeah, they're awesome little boats. I really like them.
Yeah. What's the cost on one of those approximately?
What was that?
What's the cost on one approximately? About how much they cost?
The brand new ones, which are this was a year ago. Last time I looked, they're like, you know what? I can't even tell you. I don't know. I was going to say 5,500, but it's a lot more than that, I think. I'm not sure. You'd have to look it up. Again, I bought mine used. They're a lot more than 5,500. Yeah, they're more like, I don't know. You have to look it up. But they're not cheap, but they're not that expensive either when you get down to it. If you're going to be using it.
I got one more question for you, Bo. I know around here we've got a lot of the national riverways, scenic riverways and things. Do you have that out where you're at? And do you have any trouble whenever you're on the rivers there? Like, do they have any restrictions on those kind of parts in the National Scenic Riverway area and stuff like that?
Well, not necessarily, but let me just say this, that every state has their own laws, okay? Every state is different, every single state, and they can be very different. The interpretations of their own laws can be just all over the board. So that's, people ask me that all the time, and it's so hard to answer that question. I can tell you, like in Virginia, you can get a permit and you can go in state waters. Well, what are state waters? Well, there's not that many state waters. Certain creeks are private. I mean, I can take my Mokai up, but they're private. And it's really hard to find a lot of information on them.
Right.
So I shy away from trying to get into discussions about various states, because you can go and talk. The game warden is the guy you need to talk to. They're the ones that enforce those laws. And if they look at you and say, huh? Well, then you're probably okay to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they're the ones that are going to come out and arrest you if you don't belong there. It's always the state people. It's not federal or anything like that. Most waterways. Now, Tennessee is different. You got the Tennessee Valley Authority. They're really bad. I mean, you can't dig in their waters at all. So again, there's another, that's an exception, and that goes for like a lot of their waters. So that's why I try to steer away from that discussion, because I don't know all the laws for everywhere, and the game wardens don't either. I don't know. Did that answer your question? Kinda.
It sure does. I appreciate you, and I love watching your videos. So, hey, keep up the good work.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for the call.
I'll let somebody get off here. I'll get off here and let somebody else call.
Yeah, thanks for the call. We've got another caller on as well. Who we got?
This is Chris Heimsoff.
Hey, Chris Heimsoff. What's going on out in Missouri?
Chris?
Well, we're hopefully going to have a little bit of weather coming our way here for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What?
All over, I think.
Have you got a question for Aquachigger?
Sure do. First, I wanted to tell him thanks a lot. He got me talking to buying an AT Pro waterproofing my little Garrett pinpointer before they had the Carrot, and taught me to double sock my boots, which, man, I've been fishing creeks all my life. I never thought of double socking my boots. That was worth its weight in gold right there.
Well, we all learn by doing.
Yo, I didn't. I had to learn by watching.
See, I learned the double sock thing too from him, and then I was like, man, why didn't I think of this? And I mean, it wasn't rocket science, and I was like, man, he comes up with the neatest stuff, and then I mean, it's like it works very well. So
yeah,
it was kind of crazy.
I felt stupid. I was like, yeah, it's so simple.
And that's the funny thing too is some of the things that I think are just everyone knows, you find out that they don't. It's like when you get your metal detectors, right? You got the little battery compartment, and they have that little tab in there. It took me forever to figure out why that tab was in there, and then one day it dawned on me. You put your batteries on top of the tab, so when you have to unload, you can just grab the tab and pull it, and all the batteries come popping out, okay? I made a video on that, and everyone was like, oh, my God, that's what those tabs are for. No one knew. Most people
I knew that one.
I felt stupid, but, I mean, half the people didn't know that either. So it just goes to show you that we're all in the same boat together. We're all learning together, So, I'll share what I can try to figure out. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But, you don't feel stupid about anything, because we're all kind of stupid at times.
Oh, sure do appreciate that. Your aid videos where you're showing what you're doing and your kind of reviews of your shovels and all that was really good. What I was going to ask you about was, I know you find a lot of phones and cameras. Do you have a return item story that's kind of one of your favorites that you're like, man, I'll never forget that when I was able to bring this or that back to somebody?
I have some bad experiences that I remember very clearly. I return stuff, but Huh?
Tell us one of your bad experiences then.
Well, the thing is with returning stuff is, there's a lot of good people that are very thankful. I've got, I never ask for any money or anything, but quite often they'll give me a gift card to a restaurant or something like that, and that's nice. And I appreciate that. But when you find some things, people, I don't know if it's because they don't want to thank you, but they're rude. I found a briefcase nearby one time and had a bunch of personal paperwork in there, like discharge papers from the Army and stuff. And I got the guy's number out of it and called him and told him I found it in the creek. And next thing I know, the sheriff's at my house. And this guy called the sheriff and said, someone had broken into his house and stolen all his stuff. So he called the sheriff for me and said, "The guy's got my stuff, man. Go down to his house. That's where he lives." So I'm expecting this guy to come down here, shake my hand, and say thank you. And I got a sheriff like, son, we need to talk. Where'd you get that? So I had to clear myself, and I'm sitting here thinking, boy, I should have just left it there, But those are the kind of bad experiences. Everyone's going to have them. I mean, you get them, When you find stuff like that, especially stolen stuff, the police have to clear you as a suspect. They do. I mean, I understand it, but it's unpleasant when you're going through it. When you think you're just a good Samaritan, Samaritan.
That's the road to hell.
You're doing the good thing and the right thing, but then you realize that, my God, I'm having to clear myself of this crime. Convince these people I didn't take it, steal it, and want a reward. So there's a dark side to returning stuff too. And it has tempered my return policy to a certain extent. I mean, I try to return
I'm sure it has.
I can, but I mean, I do not go out of my way, especially when I, look them up on Google and they have, prison records and stuff. I'm like, forget it. Drop it in a mailbox or something. But I've done that where it's like, I don't think I want to talk to this guy. I don't want him to know where I live, and I hate to say it, but I've had some bad experiences like that. So sorry to be a bummer, a downer, but that happens.
I'll get off and let somebody else get on. Thanks again, Bo.
Hey, thanks for the call,
thank
Chris.
You so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the call, buddy.
One other question that I had, out of course, you found so many different things, more numerous really to mention, but is there that one white whale that you just can't find and you think that you should have or you want to?
I would probably have to go with a solid 100% Whitworth bullet. Whitworth bullets, Civil War bullets, sniper bullets. They're not that uncommon, but I've never found one, that I can say is definitely a Whitworth bullet. That's probably the easiest one I should be able to find. Oh, and a U.S.-based bullet. I don't think I've ever found one of those. I don't think.
That's surprising to me.
They're common.
Yeah, they are. Well, they're not really in our area, but over in your area, they are, and in Virginia and what have you, they are very common over there.
In places they are, for sure, but I don't think I've ever found any with. Don't quote me on that one, but Whitworth for sure. So, yeah, that's my white whale, I guess. It's not a very big whale, but it's a white whale.
Well, we've all got those things that, we probably should have found and just haven't found them yet.
Yeah.
And any of us that you talk to, we got, and it would be a surprise if most of you know what the one thing that we think we should have found and we haven't, because you'd think, you hadn't found one of those? Well, I've got one of those,
Yeah, I've got 12 of them. What do you mean you hadn't found one?
Exactly.
So, I seen you had a lot of axe heads. Now, you keep all your axe heads, don't you?
Yeah, I keep the majority of them. Sometimes you'll find them where they're just so rotten that there's nothing you can do with them. But for the most part, I try to keep them and preserve them. Yeah, I have hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I try to keep all mine, and then, I mean, like you said, there's some of them just so far gone, and I mean, they're busted up, but I mean, and it's nice when you can, repurpose something, so. I've seen you've done a few of that. So.
Oh yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, it's fun to be able to go up there and swing an axe head. It's 200 years old. Axe head. It's kind of it gets a good feeling. A nice old hand forged axe, and you're out there chopping your wood, and I definitely do that.
Yeah. So the famous creek hole that had all the solid shot, I guess it was it World War II or World War One? Shells in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you think you have all them out?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I know I don't.
All right.
It's actually a big log jam right where a lot of them were, and I'm kind of like every year I got to wait for this log jam to go away, and I don't know, maybe it's gone this year, but there'll be some more under that for sure.
Yeah. So you hunt with you go detecting, don't you? Most of the time on your relic hunt.
I've been. I don't go every time, but I've been to a number of them.
Yeah.
And the DIV,
so,
I haven't gone recently, but
but this next hunt at DIV, have you heard anything about where it's going to be?
At DIV? No.
Yeah.
No, I tell you, I'm not in that loop of people anymore. Because I don't, like I said, I haven't really been going on the big hunts. So I kind of lost touch with a lot of those guys. So I just do my own thing, I just kind of like to do my own thing sometimes. The older I get, the more I do, I think. Like just being able to myself,
Gary Heckman's got a question for you as well. And he said, do you think that a rifle could move down river in a fast current?
Anything with wood or cloth on it could easily be moved down the river during floods. Bullets, shells, I don't think move more than inches, or in the typical river. But the bigger, bulkier things like that, sure, absolutely, they can get picked up and be carried away. I would guess. And that could be, cartridge box that had the leather and, on it. I'm sure that could get hooked up and stuff and dragged down the river for a ways. So I think a rifle would, although I don't know how far they'd go. I found rifles right where the crossings were, so they didn't go very far at all. But I think it's possible for something like that.
Yeah. And, whenever it was originally dropped, say you got a Civil War soldier that drops a rifle in the river or for some reason, it would probably float quite a ways, when it was first dropped. But then as that wood deteriorates and rots off, then it would probably lodge somewhere and then probably not move much after that. You agree?
Yeah, I suspect the rifles don't go very far at all. Because, I don't know. I guess they could go further, but I suspect they don't go far. I know the bullets don't. The heavy stuff like that.
And Heath,
you see him just laying on a rock,
Heath wanted me to ask you what you think about Steve Phillips' method of disarming and preserving shells.
He does a great job with them. I've been down to his place and seen it, and he's done videos on it. That's pretty much, I think, standard procedure for someone who does that. You always do it remotely like he does, and I don't know how else you would do it, really. Other than, you don't want to, hunker over it with a drill in your hand. He does it right. Is there another right way?
I don't know. I can't think of any other way that you would do it, unless you want to take your life into your hands. I hunt with a guy several years ago, a fellow that had a house that was there and probably built in the 1850s, and it was there during the Civil War. And they went to dig out and put a swimming pool in, and this fellow asked if he could come and metal detect whenever they took the top layer of sod and everything off, and they told him, yeah. And he went and he found 2 mortar rounds, and he throwed them in the trunk of his car, rode around with them for about a month or so, and then finally told somebody that he had them, and the guy said, well, I collect those. would you sell them? He said, I'm not really interested in them. He said, I'd just give them to you. And so the guy got them out, and he said, these are still live, and he rode around for a couple of months with them in the trunk. But that's not a job that I want, disarming one of those.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this. Since you're talking about it, I mean, there's almost no danger of a Civil War shell going off, pulling around in your trunk. Now, there is one particular type of fuse called the Tice fuse that they in theory could be a problem, but there's no danger. The black powder has to have a spark or flames to go off. It's not like the more modern shells where you can actually just bump them and they go off, because a more modern shell is using these fancy chemicals, and the crystals grow in them and they become very unstable. And if you move it and the crystal cracks, it could blow up. Black powder's not like that. I mean, you have to have a spark or a flame. You can throw them, bang them, and they're not going to go off. People get in trouble when they're drilling into them, because they got a drill and they're the hot bit going down into them. If they're not doing it like Steve Phillips does remotely with water, you can have a problem, and people get killed doing that. It's very uncommon for anything to happen, but it can certainly happen. But I always equate it to, I did a video on this. When you have a shell, it's really no different than having a propane canister that you would use camping from Walmart. You could throw that in your truck and let it roll around. It's not going to blow up. But if you take a drill to it, the chance it's going to blow up. I don't know if that's a perfect example, but it's I think a very true example. Propane, cylinder from Walmart and a shell. It's about the same thing as far as the danger. They're not going to blow up on you unless you put a propane cylinder next to the fireplace, which gets really hot. Yeah, you could have problems. Drill into it, sure, you can have problems. You know what I mean? But you can throw it across the yard, and it's not going to blow up.
Yeah, I've seen your video where you done the gunpowder test. You'd got some gunpowder out of the shells, and then, of course, you could see a lot of the gunpowder didn't light. Yeah. So, that was a great video.
Yeah, and some shells, though, don't get me wrong, can have very active gunpowder, especially if they have like the Navy shells or the water cap fuses. It can have very good gunpowder in it still, but it's not going to explode unless it gets a spark or a flame, or there's a certain type of fuse that it goes off if you bang it. And I don't know if there's ever been anybody blown up by one of those fuses since probably shortly after the war, but people do get blown up when they're drilling into them. So that's the danger. When you start messing with them like that.
Gary Heckman wanted me to ask you about drilling down through the rope fuse with a hand drill.
I tell you, I would not drill a shell with a hand drill. Okay, I have a couple theories behind that I don't know how true they are, but you're going down through a fuse, and that's fine. You're probably not going to be sparking or anything like that. But guess what? Okay, when black powder decomposes along with moisture in the iron of the body of the shell, it creates gases. Okay, explosive gases. So you're drilling into this thing, and a lot of these shells, especially if you do it when they're warm or hot from sitting in the sun, they'll hiss. They'll go, and the gas will come flying out of it, okay? So you got this explosive gas flying out of the shell into the windings of your electric drill that's in your hand, okay? So you're basically spraying propane into the windings of your electric drill. And if you ever looked at an electric drill, you see it sparking like crazy all the time. So that's a danger there. I don't know if it'll make the shell explode. People told me it won't, but who knows for sure. You're going to get a fireball, but I would not even do that.
I think what he was talking about on that may have been just one of the mechanical hand drills.
Well, it's a drill. I don't think you're going to have to worry about a spark, but you're still puncturing into a vessel. Basically, it's a propane canister where it has high-pressure explosive gas in it from the decomposition of the black powder with the water and the iron. So that thing's full. A lot of these things are full of highly pressurized explosive gases that have developed over the years. So when you punch a hole in there, whether it's with a drill or just taking, a screwdriver, you're going to have this, this gas comes out of it, and it sounds like a rocket taking off. That's explosive gases. So,
sounds to me like a couple of rednecks don't need to try and disarm one of them.
Well, yeah.
we need to leave that to the professionals.
Yeah, you could probably do 1,000 of them and be okay, but 1,001, well, you might lose your hand or a chunk of your skull. It's just you're playing with a propane cylinder basically when you're doing that.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter how much you want to take your chances. Propane cylinder, put it underwater, drill it remotely. The gas is going to come out and you're done. I've shot plenty of those propane cylinders. Heck, you can hardly get them to explode. Usually they just shoot the propane up in the air, and if you don't have flames out there that don't get blown out, gas dissipates. So chances are it's going to do the same thing, but if you have that candle there that doesn't get blown out, well, you're going to have a giant fireball. Your face is going to be in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good situation
to be in. Don't mess with that
in.
stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't mess with that stuff. You have it done by someone that knows what they're doing, and you can take your chances. You might be okay, but then again, you might not. And if you're lucky, it will kill you, and if you're not, you'll, maybe you wish you were dead if you're missing happen.
Yeah, dismembered somehow.
That happens to people. It's like, God, maybe it would have been better if it just killed them. So you got.
Yeah.
I'm like
the gentleman that was in New York that was disarming one. Of course, I'd seen the documentary about it. It was I can't remember the name of it, but he was disarming one, and come to find out, it exploded and killed him, and then next thing you know, his house was full of old unexploded Civil War shells, and luckily the whole house didn't go up. So
yeah. If you have those shells in your house and your house catches on fire, those can explode, and they start cooking off. The fire department's going to let your house burn down.
Yeah.
If they know those things in there, they're going to let your house burn down.
Yeah, I'm like
you got to be really. You don't want to keep those things in your house if they're not disarmed.
I'm like Jason Quarter Hoarder. I'd be afraid to try and open up a 22 bullet. And Bill Hayes, he gave the classic redneck comment there. Said, "Hold my beer and watch this."
Yeah, I've chewed the bullets off at 22s before, and you light them and they pop. When I was a kid.
When I was, I'd had a 30-30 round when I was a kid, and of course I was been watching some kind of show, and then, of course I was trying to make it like a flatter on the end, so I stuck it to the grinder, and here I was grinding the piece of lead off the tip of it, and the next thing I know, it got so hot in my hand. It burnt my hand. And then thinking back, it's 1,000 wonders if it hadn't went off in my hand, but luckily it didn't. So.
Yep. You're a redneck.
Been good.
Yep. I was trying to make my own bullets.
Deus Digger wanted me to ask you a question, Bo.
Yeah.
If you think that National Park Civil War sites should be detected to preserve that history that's rotting away.
Well, no, not by the average detectorist that goes out there and does it. If it's done by the professionals that are mapping and doing all their stuff, perhaps. And a good example of that is the Little Bighorn battlefield where people were detecting that and stuff, but they didn't get everything. Of course, had that fire out there, and they went out there with professionals and they marked everything, and they rewrote the battle. They were able to rewrite what happened there based on the artifacts that were still in the ground that they were able to get. Okay, and on these, on the battlefield, we know a lot about what happened there because more books are written on the Civil War than just about any other event. But no, I don't know. I don't think that. How would you do it even? You know what I mean?
Well, I agree with you.
The government doesn't have money to have to go out there and put this on. They do it. I've been involved in like Noxie battlefield where, they had local club comes in, and they would do an area where they would mark, and they would do their own digging and stuff. And I think it's good to do that, but to say we need to blanket these battlefields and get everything out of the ground, we don't have the technology that is going to be around 20 years from now that might tell a whole totally different story, So leave that. I'm like, leave it there if we can,
I agree to a certain extent. I think that just open it up and just let Tom, Dick, and Harry with a metal detector go in there, I wouldn't be up for that. But I do think that metal detectorists and archaeologists can work together. I've done a little bit of that.
Oh, sure.
And where you document things, and you can actually rewrite history whenever you pull those relics out. You document where they're at, and then they begin to tell a story. But you need the archaeologist in there with you on a deal like that. You don't just need to open it up. And Deus Digger said, or somebody said here, Gary Heckman said, what's the difference in leaving it there in the ground or somebody getting it and putting it in their own private collection in a drawer or in a closet? I'd rather leave it in the in situ where it was, where the battle was.
Yeah. Well, that's going to tell the story. That's what history is all about, is telling a story and figuring out what happened. And, so, I mean, there's certain things, buttons and whatnot, that you're going to lose. But for the most part, those things have been there for 155 years. And, they're going to be there a while longer. It's not like we have to go out there and just get everything out of the ground. That's the kind of way I feel about it. I really do. I like the Park Service. I think they're doing a wonderful job. I live, my property borders the Park Service, and I can go walk over there anytime I want on the park, walk around, enjoy it, but, I can't cross the fence on that private property because the guy will shoot me. But, I've got thousands of acres of park I can go enjoy. So, I'm happy when I hear that the government has bought up land for, whether it be national park, national forest, or whatever, because I can go on it then. I can stand there where those soldiers stood, and I don't have to knock on somebody's door and say, can I please go out and stand in your field with my great-great-great-grandfather was shot? And they say, no, get the hell out of here because everybody wants to go stand out in the field. Well, park by them, I can go out there and stand there, So I'm a firm believer in Civil War preservation through, purchasing these important battlefields so people can go out there, not metal attack, but can just go out there and enjoy them, and not have a subdivision or a Walmart or whatever go up instead, which I've seen so much of here in the Shenandoah Valley. I've seen just beautiful trenches bulldozed for housing developments that the park should have bought, and I could go up there and look at these beautiful trenches, but they're gone. There's houses on them now, so, Sorry if I'm... I'll take another question. Everybody hates me now, right?
No, I don't there's pros and cons. There's pros and cons both ways. And our guest next week is going to be Sam Waters with CWPPO. And what they do up in Ohio there is actually what that stands for is Civil War Preservation Project of Ohio. And, you don't take any of the relics that you find. And it's actually a recovery of history there. And I like those kind of situations, Of course, you're going to have people that disagree with you, and you're going to have people that agree with you. There's pros and cons either way you look at it.
Oh, there always is. There's always, nothing is ever really black and white. We just have to be comfortable in our stand, where we fit in.
The best part of it is just, finding it and documenting it. And, of course, like the hunt that you're talking about, Seven, that'll be a great hunt. It doesn't matter if you get to keep it or not. It's just, like I said, finding it and turning it in and letting them document it. So.
And like Missouri Mike said...
a Walmart goes up on it.
Right. That's my problem, is putting blacktop over it, putting a Walmart, putting a parking lot, or putting me and Jeff hunted a bank. That's what I was fixing to say. Me and Jeff hunted a Civil War camp at a bank is going in. They did let us come in there and hunt, but there's still relics there that they're going to cover up that, for a generation or two will not be, may never be, to where somebody can pull up those relics or anything. But there's still stuff to find in places where we can hunt. So we're fortunate in that way. We're an hour and 19 minutes into the show. Don't have that much longer to go. If you've got a question for Bo, call 270-495-0315. While we've still got just a little bit of time left, and we'll discuss your concerns or your questions with him. Anything that you think that we haven't touched on, Bo, that you was wanting to?
No, I think you pretty much covered. Hey, it's past my bedtime. What it's like? I'm gonna think 30 years. It's been dark for hours. My brain's shutting down. I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do tomorrow, where I'm gonna relic hunting already. So you're gonna have to ask the questions. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I've been sitting here. Of course, my wife was supposed to have been home earlier, and I'm sitting here babysitting my 7-month-old, and of course he was in there crying like crazy. So I had to go get him, and I'm sitting here in the bedroom with him in one arm and the phone in the other. So.
Your life does get in the way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Man, it does. See, I'm retired now, and I could be relic hunting every day, but for some reason I have a 7-month-old. I hadn't figured this out yet. So, I don't know.
Well, that didn't just happen, Jeff. You played a part in that.
Well, yeah, I had a part in it, but he's just sitting here smiling.
Maybe he understands. Well, I tell you what, if we don't have another caller, I've covered just about everything that I wanted to cover. Bo, tell us tell everybody how they can get in contact with you, your Facebook and your YouTube or any other social media that you're on.
Well, I mean, my Facebook is just my name, Bo We Met, and I try to get. I'm pretty much at the limit now with friends. I can't really add too many more. But if you, I don't know. I mean, my channel's Aquachigger on YouTube. If you get a question in within the first hour of me posting a video, I'll try to answer. But after that, everything gets buried. Because I've got like 800 videos or something like that out there, and then people are still asking questions on videos I posted 8 years ago. So it's really hard. Social media is tough for me because I get a lot of people asking me questions. Yeah. Don't give out my phone number. I didn't answer that phone 3 times when you called tonight because I'm like, I'm not going to answer that phone.
I know it.
My wife says, I know, it's like, gosh.
Now, Heath Jones and them, they know what I'm talking about because people don't realize what all goes on in putting together a podcast. And when you're like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes out and you can't get your guest on the phone, which was the case with us, and then he finally called me on my cell phone, and then I had to drop everybody and call everybody back, and it gets nerve-wracking, I tell you. But you did. And
I apologize for that. I really do. But I mean, I'm looking at this Kentucky number saying, I don't know. I don't want to talk about.
Yeah, who's that?
I totally forgot because I'm old. I forgot. And like all of a sudden it dawned on me with you guys. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, you don't want to.
I was freaking out. I really was freaking out. I'm glad that it worked out.
Yeah, I'm glad it did too. We were freaking out too. You didn't want to talk to anybody from Kentucky. Now then, you've talked to somebody from Kentucky for an hour and 23 minutes.
So. I don't mind once I'm on the phone. Once I'm on the phone, it's fine. But I mean, so many people get my number because it's a public number, So I can't even answer the phone anymore unless I know who's calling. I mean, I won't answer it because I get calls all the time from people. Hey, can you check out this video for me? I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just sit here and read. Read. You know what I mean? So.
Well, just one other quick thing before we let you go tonight. And we certainly do appreciate you being on and taking time. I know you're.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
I know you're a busy man, but what immediate plans do you have right now?
Oh, I got a lot of stuff cooking coming up this year. Just plans. Well, immediately, I guess I'm going to go to the Texas for the Charles Garrett Memorial Hunt, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. They invited me to come down to do that, and it's like a 3-day hunt or something like that. And it's a camp. You can camp out, and so I'm going to be down there meeting and greeting with I think Joss I'm going to be down there and some other people. And after that, I'm going out to Arizona camping for a couple of weeks and make some more videos, maybe do a little detecting and stuff. And that's my immediate plans. After that, who knows?
Well, best of luck on your adventures, and we look forward to seeing the videos that you put together. And again, we certainly do appreciate you being our special guest tonight. You were a great guest and a lot of information. We talked about a lot of different subjects, and that's kind of what we wanted to do. And we certainly do appreciate.
And thank you very much, Bo. I'm glad you come on the show.
Thank you for inviting me on the show, and it was, it really was my pleasure to get on here and talk to you guys. You were a lot of fun, and you had some really good questions, and it's always a pleasure to to help out others when I can. So.
Yeah, I've been wanting to talk more, but then the baby's been crying, and of course I've been going crazy right here. I mean, just running back and forth, and I was like, "What's going on?" And then, where's your mama at? She needs to be here.
Yeah.
And we don't want to get off without thanking all of the people that we had in the chat tonight too. We had a lot. My chat finally locked up. When you get so many, it locks up on the supply side here. So I hadn't been able to watch the chat here for a little while. But Bo, we certainly do appreciate it. Good luck on your adventures, and we'll be watching your YouTube channel and picking up on those things that you're doing in the future.
All right, man. I appreciate it, and again, thanks for having me on, and to all you fans, thanks for coming on and asking questions.
Okay.
And watching and participating.
All right.
Right? All about participation. Okay.
Do what?
I'm done. I'm tired. I gotta go.
Okay.
Hey, thanks again. We'll talk to you again. Okay.
Yeah, see you, buddy.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
And we do appreciate everybody that was in the chat tonight. And we want to remind you, if you like metal detecting shows, we've been doing this lately. We want to remind you of Beyond Sight and Sound. And all of these are on Spreaker, and I listen to them, and I will endorse all of these shows. Beyond Sight and Sound, they're on Sunday night and Wednesday night, and I apologize, I don't know exactly when all of these shows are on. But American Digger Relic Roundup is on Monday night. History Seekers is on Tuesday night. And then there's also All Metal Mode and Hardcore Metal Detecting. But Relics Radio is on every Thursday night. And as I alluded to there a while ago, next week we have another very special guest, Sam Waters with CWPPO, talking about Civil War preservation in Ohio there, and I think that's going to be an interesting show. So tune in next Thursday night at 6 o'clock Central. That'll be 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And until then, we're going to get out of here. Thank you for joining us tonight on Relics Radio. We certainly appreciate it. Be sure and join us live each Thursday night at 6 p.m. Central Time. That's 7 o'clock Eastern Time here on Spreaker. Or you can catch the archive show at Relics Radio on Spreaker, iTunes, or iHeartRadio. Please take a minute and hit the like button, and be sure and follow us so that you'll get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. You can also find us on YouTube at Diggin' with 7 or Tennessee Jeff. Or you can check out our Facebook page, Relics Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to digginwith7@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We hope that you'll join us next Thursday night, and until then, get out there and dig some history.